THQ. Now, throughout the mid-2000s, hell, even all the way up to like 2012, THQ was one of the biggest publishers on the face of the planet for video games. They were up there with the likes of Activision and even maybe EA, but for a time they were up there. They were really popular. Now, over the last, I'd say 2 months, yes, 2 months now, I can't believe it, I've just been reviewing THQ games. Now, tons of THQ games. I've probably reviewed over 30 THQ games on this channel alone. But here's what I'm going to look at. I'm going to look at my top 10 favorite THQ games. Now, first of all, the game has to be published by THQ. So, South Park Stick of Truth and Metro Last Light and Evolve and certainly not Devil's Third are not going to be on this list. And second, it's just my favorite THQ games. Are they the best? I don't know. I mean, it's just my personal favorite. That doesn't necessarily mean the best, but it's my favorite. So yes, nostalgia is a part of this. But anyway, enough of that. Let's get started. THQ. At number 10, we have Destroy All Humans, the first one, not the series or anything. Now, in my opinion, after this game, Destroy All Humans just pretty much went downhill. But that's a different story. But the first Destroy All Humans is by far my favorite of them all. I love how just original the original game was, if that makes any sense. I mean, they would go on to kind of milk this concept of Destroy All Humans, but I think the first game got it right. I think, yeah, it is a bit short, but I think it ended before it got repetitive. And I think the best part was just going around destroying shit in the saucer. And this game did it probably the best of them all. And I think the series went downhill from here. But I love the first game. First game's the best. THQ. At number 9, I have MX vs. ATV Reflex. Now, I'm sure I mentioned this, but only one game per franchise. And the MX vs. ATV that I like the most is definitely Reflex. While it did have a bit of balancing issues, I still think Reflex was the best of all the bike games that they have, and really it's one of my favorite racing games probably of all time. I mean, the game had pretty good courses, it had some awesome just soundtrack and presentation and racing in general, and I love the Reflex mode, how bumpy and realistic it kind of was, and I really think it added to the game. And I really think that when it comes to racing games, you should really try this one out. It's one of my favorites. I mean, that's why it's on this list. THQ. At number 8, we have the WWE game that would be on here, and that's WWE 13. Now, I haven't played any of the other THQ WWE games except for like 2009, and that game's pretty bad. I was originally actually going to review it, but then I decided not to. 13 is pretty good. I mean, I would say it's probably the best wrestling game ever made besides 2K16. That's probably the best. But I thought that this game was pretty awesome. The roster, while a bit outdated, obviously. I still thought that what would be known as now Showcase, the story mode of the game, was actually really good. The wrestling was pretty good. It was pretty awesome for the time, especially. But really, just the Attitude Era mode really just made the game for me. And that's why I think it deserves to be on this list. THQ. Okay, at number 7, I have really one of the most obscure, unknown, underrated games I've ever played, and that's 50 Cent Blood on the Sand. Now, I was serious when I said that 50 Cent Blood on the Sand was actually a really good game. I mean, like, yeah, you can take one look at it and say, oh, it's a piece of shit, it's 50 Cent, stupid fucking license game or whatever. Trust me, 50 Cent Blood on the Sand is actually a really good, smart, third-person shooter. Like, it is really fun, actually, and I can't believe I'm saying this about 50 Cent, but it is actually a really fun game, and while it is a bit short, I think the music's even good, surprisingly, and it's just a pretty fun third-person shooter. I mean, it's like Gears of War, only like with 50 Cent. How could you not really like that? I mean, I love it. THQ. At number 6, we have S.T.A.L.K.E.R. Now, the only S.T.A.L.K.E.R. that's been published by THQ is Shadow of Chernobyl, so that's the only one I'm obviously going to be talking about. But in my opinion, S.T.A.L.K.E.R. is one of the best post-apocalyptic worlds, like, games, and I think the game is just very well made in general. Now, the story, while a bit lacking, I think really the game makes up for it with its atmosphere and world. It's just very immersive and dark and depressing and serious, and I really just kind of like it. And I really I've put a lot of time into this game, and I really actually think it's a pretty awesome first-person shooter, and it's definitely overlooked. It was definitely overlooked when it came out. And while there is bugs and glitches, all that, it really should be played, and it gets pretty cheap now, so I really think it should be checked out.
THQ.
At number 5, we have THQ's last game ever released, and that is Darksiders 2. Now, really, it's a bit up for me for Darksiders 1 or 2, but in the end, I decided to choose Darksiders 2 because I personally like death mode more than war, and that's seriously how close the two came. They're both pretty great games, but Darksiders 2 just built on top of Darksiders 1 with MMO elements, RPG stuff, and was just all around more fun and a bit longer. And there's DLC, like that matters. But Darksiders 2 is a pretty great action game, and is literally, when people think of underrated, one of the franchises they usually think of as Darksiders, just because it's Darksiders. Nobody really knows about it. And while a lot of people say, oh, it copies a bunch of other games, I think Darksiders 2 does kind of have its own identity at this point. And it just got re-released, so I mean, really, Darksiders 2 is one of the better action games I've played in the last couple of years, along with God of War. But really, it's a great game.
THQ.
At number 4, I have BLOB. Now, BLOB is honestly one of my favorite games, probably of all time. I mean, I just love BLOB in general. It's one of my favorite Wii games of all time. It's certainly my favorite third-party Wii game. I mean, like, in terms of third-party Wii games, there wasn't a lot, especially in 2008 when this game came out. But this game really just kind of upped the ante and said, we're going to have a great third-party game, and that's what this game did. With, in my opinion, excellent platforming, a great mechanic, and was really just addicting with OCD shit going on. I think BLOB really manages to stick its head above the crowd and just deliver something else. While there is the sequel, which I really haven't played that much of, I mean, I thought it was alright, but BLOB 1, in my opinion, was just where it's at. The music was excellent, the presentation was fantastic, and BLOB was a cool guy, and I mean, the platforming and just coloring everything was just awesome. I love this game.
THQ.
At number 3, I have the Red Faction game that would be on here, and that is, without a doubt, the best Red Faction game to me, Red Faction Guerrilla. Now, Red Faction Guerrilla is the most destructible game I've ever seen. Now, games like Just Cause 3 have come out now, and Crackdown's coming out, but I doubt either of them will be able to touch Red Faction Guerrilla. There is so much amazing destruction in Guerrilla, and while I could have put Red Faction 1 on here also, Guerrilla is just better. It has an open world, it has decent driving mechanics, it has just phenomenal destruction, and a so-so story, but still, the destruction mechanics alone get it on the list, and then the game being this fun gets it this high. I love just going around with the sledgehammer and destroying shit or blowing shit up in this game. It's just, to say it's fantastic is a lie. This is literally the best destruction game ever. I'm serious. Ever.
THQ.
At number 2, I have Saints Row the 3rd. Now, Saints Row 3, I played back when it came out, and I thought it was a pretty amazing game, to be honest, and I still really do think that. I mean, out of all the Saints Rows, it's probably my favorite. I might like 4 more, but that's not by THQ, so. And I think it's a really just excellent game. While the game is, a GTA clone or whatever, I think Saints Row definitely stands out much more than some other GTA clones out there. And I think that Saints Row 3, for all of its wacky craziness, I think the game really does have a great story and is really just kind of fun to play. I mean, the amount of customization is high, the weapons are awesome, and really Saints Row 3 is, it's the best of the Saints Row. It kicks the shit out of Saints Row 1 and 2 combined, in my opinion. But Saints Row 3 is just a really fun open world game that really, it's cheap now. I mean, there's no point in not checking it out unless you get 4. But other than that, check it out.
THQ.
Okay, now, at this point it's kind of obvious what it is. I mean, like, for anybody who knows me, they know that I love SpongeBob. And now number one was very hard for me to choose between SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom or the SpongeBob movie game, both by THQ. And in the end, I decided to choose both of them. Yeah. Sorry, I chose both of them. It's my list. I do what I want. My rules. But SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom and SpongeBob the movie game are so similar in terms of graphics and gameplay that why can't I just choose both of them? They're both such fantastic games. In terms of my favorite games of all time, these two games are up there. And I think that they're absolutely phenomenal platformers. They perfectly understand what SpongeBob is. They're not this licensed garbage that some people would think they are, but most people understand that these two games are fucking awesome. I mean, with amazing music, great gameplay, just all around fantastic game. And I think that's why I put it above all these other games. I have a giant nostalgia boner for this game, yes, both of them, but I still think that it's incredible. I mean, how well the game holds up, it's beyond amazing. And that's why I think SpongeBob, both these SpongeBob games are not only some of the best licensed games ever made, if not the best, besides maybe Arkham Knight, or not Night City, but they're just amazing. Excellent games. Now, that's it for this list. I hope you guys really liked it. I mean, I'm really done with THQ Games now. I mean, I know I missed a couple like the Punisher and the Warhammer games, but like I'm really done with THQ Games right now. I mean, I don't think anyone else wants me to even look at any. But that's my list of THQ. Long live THQ. I mean, it's a shame that they went under. I love them. They're childhood memories. But yeah, I'll see you guys in my next video. So like, subscribe, rate, do stuff you can't even do on YouTube anymore. And have a good one!